So this is Dan Martell's welcome email, the very first email you get as soon as you join his email list. And while he did some amazing stuff that you can definitely learn a lot from about bringing your audience closer, how he positions himself as an authority, how he actually improves his future email deliverability rate, he's got a lot of stuff right, but then he drops one enormous clanger that is definitely leaving him a lot of sales, a lot of clients on the table. Let's get stuck into unpacking this email and show you exactly how you can do the same and not make the same mistake that Dan Martell made.
The Email Marketing Show.
Hey now, it's Kennedy. Welcome to the show. We're going to get into this. If you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe because every single week I send you brand new videos giving you in-depth tutorials on how to make more from the email subscribers you've already got and the offers that you're already making. How would you just like to make tons more sales from what you're already sitting on? It's like a bloody gold mine, and that's what we do here on this channel week in, week out. So at some point during this content, you're like, wow, I want more of this. I want more of Kennedy's psychology insight on this market and stuff. Do smash the subscribe button. So let's get into it without further ado. What's going on? So paint the picture of the context here for you. As soon as you go to Dan's website, Dan Martell's website, you can sign up for his newsletter where he promises to send you an email each week, okay? And this is the very first email you get as soon as you subscribe. So I signed up yesterday, as you can see, at 7 o'clock in the morning because I am one of those very annoying early bird people who gets up at 5:30 because I like to, not because everybody should, none of that BS. Anyway, so the first thing I want to look at is this subject line. You're in plus welcome gift. Really important thing that you are probably not doing that we can definitely model from Dan's thinking here, right? The first thing is you're in. And there is an emoji. I would say actually that's a little bit of a risky biscuit. Putting an emoji in a subject line is one of the things that spammers started doing in order to stand out in people's inboxes. So of course Gmail got smart to that and started really scrutinizing when you use emoji. So for your first email, when you want maximum deliverability, I would say that's a little mistake. We're going to get to the big issue a little bit later, the big improvement I would make to this email. But the little tiny tweak I would make is don't use an emoji in the subject line of your first email because you want maximum deliverability. Because if no one reads your first email, they're sure as hell not going to read your future emails. So you need to really have that acknowledgement. The second thing I would say is that he's done brilliantly that most people don't do. So what most people do in the welcome email subject line is they're like, you're in, welcome, here's how to get started, that kind of thing. And actually from the outside, I call it the outside of the box, right? Before they click to open the email, they're just seeing the subject line and your name, right? And they're seeing the subject line and what they're going to do is decide whether to open that email or not. And if it just says you're in, there's nothing compelling someone to actually open that email. So a great way that Dan's implemented here is by including an unadvertised and unspecified welcome gift that's inside the email itself. So imagine you couldn't see any of this content. All you can see is this, you're in plus welcome gift. You're now thinking, oh, bloody hell, what's this welcome gift going to be? So it's a really good way of getting people to go, I want to know what it is. Notice if they'd said plus 32 subject lines that will get opened, we know what the welcome gift is, so there's not a compelling reason to go and open the email. The reason this works so well is because it tells you that there is a welcome gift, but one of the reasons you're opening the email is to find out what it is, not just to download it. Because if it's a resource, which is probably going to be, there's a good chance at that point in time you haven't got the time, you're not in the right place or situation where you're going to consume or go and check out the welcome gift. So the thing that's compelling somebody, psychologically speaking, to go and open this actual email is the curiosity of what is the welcome gift. And that's the correct type of curiosity to be using here. So the thing with the subject line is I would definitely ditch the emoji and love the welcome gift. Now, before we get into the email content, here's the next really important thing, is his name. I know it sounds crazy, but I was on his website, danmartell.com, and the email I get is from Dan Martell. It says Dan Martell. Like, even if I'm not in the email, before I open it up, it says Dan Martell. There is an alignment there. There is a thread, or what's in marketing called a scent from one place to another. If, however, someone had been on my website and they've just seen my brand name, Email Marketing Heroes, it might be tempting, because we've all been taught, hey, emails should come from a human, just to have my emails come from Kennedy. The problem is, if you've been on emailmarketingheroes.com and then you get an email from this guy called Kennedy, you don't know that's from that email from Kennedy is from that website, emailmarketingheroes.com. So how do you fix that? Well, if you're using a brand name on your website, or maybe there's a branding to the lead magnet or a branding to your newsletter, if you're in a branded place, make sure that you put the brand name as part of the from name of the email. And that lets people know this is the gift you asked for from that site you were just on. Most people miss this out and completely cock it up. So Dan Martell works. I was on danmartell.com. For me, my emails come from Kennedy, because it should come from person, / email marketing heroes. So if you are on my website and it has Kennedy all over the place and there's lots of personal branding on there, you're going to know it's from Kennedy. If you're on my brand website, Email Marketing Heroes, or one of the other pages of that, then you're going to see Email Marketing Heroes. So it simply says, hey, this is from that website. Really important thing, because remember, this first email is critical, because if they don't recognize your name from the first email, you're not setting up the relationship for them to remember your emails for the future, which means your open rate for future emails is gonna suck. It's gonna be bloody awful. So that's the second piece. Now into the copy of the email. And I said, he's done lots of really good stuff here that you can definitely learn from. There is a huge blunder, a huge cock-up. What would we say in the Northeast is he's dropped a bollock partway through it. I'll get into that in a second, because it literally is leaking a lot of sales left on the table. And it's not uncommon, but we will get to that. But first of all, hey, Kennedy, first of all, it's using my name, so I know that even though we all know that that's mail merged in, it wasn't manually sent. There was a time back in the day when I got an email from Dan Kennedy, the legendary marketer, where it merged my name in. This was like in maybe the year 2000, 2001, and I hadn't realized mail merging was a thing. And I replied to Dan Kennedy going, oh my God, it's Dan Kennedy, this is amazing. Later to find out, obviously I'm an idiot, but that's okay. But these days, I think we all know that that's merged in, but it still doesn't make it that much less effective. We're not trying to pretend this is personal, but we are saying it's personalized, which means, yes, they knew my name because I signed up. I'm in the right place. This message is intended for me. It's not like, dear sir, or to web host, or something like that. Dan here, so he's a little greeting. I'm pumped you found me. So a little acknowledgement. Welcome to the community. Notice he's now referencing it and reframing what admission and what readership of his emails are to being a community. Like, we're all in this together. That's the vibe. And when I often talk about the words themselves, like, are not the important bit. It's what they actually are trying to create as the context and the thinking behind it. This is a great example of that, of welcome to the community. Yes, he said the word community, but it's welcoming, and it really frames this as a community. Every Monday, and sometimes more, I'll share my best stories and lessons. So, little trip up here is, first of all, every Monday, there's a bit of specificity there, and sometimes more. That's kind of a little bit weak to me, as in, like, just commit. Like, what people come to you and I for, when we're thought leaders, when we're that person who they're going to follow for knowledge, is they're looking for someone who is a decisive leader, a person who has a plan. Right? And so when you start using weakening language like, and sometimes more, like you're uncertain, that really rocks the boat there, okay? I'll share my best stories and lessons. Even ideas from this week I haven't shared anywhere else. This is great, because the big thing that people worry about when they read your emails is, well, I also follow this guy on Instagram, I also follow this guy on LinkedIn, I follow this guy elsewhere on YouTube. Do I need to watch that and read these emails? Am I not going to get the same information from both places? No. We want to create a very certain demand that you should read my emails because I share stuff in these emails that I share nowhere else. You put a red velvet rope around it, it makes the email special. And so there's a good reason to read these and not think, well, I'm already getting everything I want from Dan Martell because it's everywhere else. He's really spelling that out. And then he gets specific. Mindset shifts, health tips, business strategies. So then he's just going into like the things that he's going to be talking about. I would argue that health tips is a little bit strange here because this is like a business owner's thing. I know part of Dan's brand. I know a little bit about it. I don't know loads about it. But a little bit of Dan's brand is about, his health and how that keeps him focused and sharp and able to perform as a high performer. I get that, but it just feels like a little bit of a disconnect. People are looking for mindset shift and business strategies, but actually their health is, they're not really into health and fitness. Then that might be a thing. Because the last thing I want, like, I like to go to the gym, I like to try and do as much as I can, but I'm not consistent with my health. But I do want to know how this amazing Dan Martell's built this massive bunch of businesses and helped all these people. But I really don't want him telling me how many push-ups to do and that I need to start drinking green slop in the morning, right? That's really not what I want. So that would actually turn me off a little bit. Maybe that means I'm not the target market for this, and that's cool as well. And then he goes into all the stuff, and this is really important, all the stuff I learned going from rehab, the before picture, at 17 years old to building a $100 million empire. What's going on here? A bunch of things. First of all, he's telling you that his before picture is hopefully worse than his reader's current situation. And his after picture, by contrast, is most likely way better than the reader's current situation. What does that say in the subconscious mind? What's the inference there? We call it indirection in psychology, right? The indirect suggestion here is that I was in a worse place than you are, and I'm in a much better place than you are. Therefore, if you're in a better place already starting off, you could achieve great things. He's indirectly suggesting you could perhaps do better than I am. The other thing he's doing is laying down some credibility. $100 million, and he calls it an empire. Why the word empire? That's a great physical and mental model there, an image, which is an empire. Sounds like lots going on, lots of stuff building. It has Romans and forts, all that sort of stuff in your head. It's also quite a masculine thing. So it's a very masculine word, which I would say matches Dan's target market of mostly a sort of masculine style audience. So he's got a lot going on in this one sentence. That's amazing, right? So if you're looking for the edge that'll get you unstuck, if you're tired of playing small, if you know that you're meant for more but haven't shifted into the next gear, I've got you. What is this? This is a technique called the undeniable truths, right? These are things that fraudulent psychics, when I was doing TV shows and I was doing lots of shows and talks and stuff about debunking fraudulent psychics, which I did about more than a decade ago, I mean, maybe more, 14 years ago, one of the things that fraudulent psychics who I would analyze and I would talk about on TV would do was they would say these flattering statements. Another phrase for these is called fine flattery, okay? And what that does is it's saying three things, or saying a bunch of things, that no one in their right mind is going to deny. It's like when a psychic says to you, I'm getting the impression that you're a very honest person and you have a lot of integrity. Well, there's very few people are going to go, no, I'm not. I'm a terrible person, right? I've got no integrity. But it sounds like they understand you, and that's what's going on here. So if you're looking for an edge that'll get you unstuck, well, if you've joined his newsletter, you know that's true, and that for sure. So what are you getting? You're getting a little subconscious yes at the end of that. Then, if you're tired of playing small, well, everyone who's here and everyone's learning business is about growth, so they're gonna get a yes. No one's gonna say no to that. And if you know you're meant for more but still haven't shifted to the next gear, again, it's an easy yes. This is those fine flattery type statements. I've got you. And then some certainty from the coach. I'm the person with the map. I know where we're going. Follow me into the terrain. I've got you. I've got all the resources. I've got a rucksack full of all the goodies we're going to need. I'll show up for you every week. More certainty. Because we live in a world where everyone's feeling super uncertain. And if someone's joining your email list, they're uncertain about the thing that you are doing. So he's creating, hey, don't worry. I've got you. I'm going to show up for you. As long as you show up for yourself. And it's basically saying, but, you got to do your bit. Again, this is saying, hey, I can lead you, but, I'm not going to force you to do the work. Puts a little bit of onus, a little bit of pressure and responsibility on the actual reader. And then he uses a really amazing technique. He says, before we get started. Oh, my God, I love this. This is so powerful. So he's already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. He's 13 lines into this email already. Halfway? And then he drops, before we get started. What does this do? This resets the clock in your reader's mind. This is so powerful because someone's going to give you a certain amount of time to read your email. And so if you can then reset the clock partway through and go, hey, my time starts again, if they're going to give you 6 seconds to read your email and they get to before we get started, they're going to reset the clock to 0 and give you another 6 seconds. This comes from street performers. I spent a lot of time in London, which is about a 5 or 6 hour drive from where I live in the northeast of England. And every time I go down, I go to a place called Covent Garden. And in Covent Garden, that is like the best street performers in the world. And there's this guy who goes into Covent Garden. He's been doing it for years. He takes a straight up and down ladder, a step ladder, right? And he stands there in the middle of Covent Garden with literally 400 people around him, a huge crowd. And at the beginning, he tells them he's got to do something amazing with the ladder. He's going to stand the ladder on its 2 little feet, balance it, he's going to climb up it, and he's then going to juggle knives at the top of the ladder. And he's doing it day after day, multiple times a day, drawing crowds, putting his hat out, and getting money. But how does he keep their attention? Because the job of the street performer is to keep people's attention. So think about it. You're busy, you're shopping, you're doing lunch, you're out there with your family, seeing shows, doing all the things and dining in a beautiful place in London, and you're wandering down the street, you go through Covent Garden, you've heard it's good, lots of restaurants, lots of buzz, lots of cool stores and designer outlets, and then you see this guy with a ladder telling you he's gonna climb this ladder. What are you going to do? You're going to give him a couple of seconds. So you'll go, hey, we'll just stop for a second, darling, while we're on our way to that lovely store, and we'll just watch this guy quickly climb this ladder. Well, now we're in, because now this guy's job is to get us to stay. And how does he do it? Right, he's like, cool, I'm going to climb the ladder, but before we get started, I'm going to do this. And he does like a little magic trick. And then he goes, now, before we get started, you need to know. And he keeps saying, before we get started. Why? Because every time he does it, he's resetting the clock to keep us there for longer. And he keeps us there, which means people join behind us. And people join behind them. And then before you know it, within 20 minutes, he's got a crowd of 400 to 600 people who've just stopped, weren't planning on doing anything. You are literally, it's like having an ad in the news feed. They stopped and gave attention. Why? Because he was able to capture their attention and then maintain that attention using this technique of before we got started. It is hugely impressive that this has been done in an email. So the attention has been reset. The timer has been restarted, okay? Make sure these emails keep showing up in your inbox by doing these 2 things. And then he gives them 2 really simple things to do. Reply with "let's go" and let me show you what and let me know what brought you here. My team sees all of these and it will help us tailor the content. I want to just dig into this a little bit because he's done something here that very few people do, and I really think you should apply this. The first part is, I've been teaching this for absolutely years. You need to get people to reply to your first email, right? In the welcome sequence that I teach called the Trust Accelerator, which I'll give you a link to, go and watch for free in a minute. But when in that sequence, I get people in that first email or 2 to reply to your email. Why? Because when you reply to an email, that makes Gmail and its band of merry men really, really happy. Gmail is responsible for like the vast majority of email inboxes in the world, right? So if you can make it happy, you're pretty much winning the email game when it comes to getting your message in front of people. So here, he's saying, give us a reply and let us know what brought you here. So that's going to help with his email deliverability. He also lets people know that it will be seen. Because the number one reason that people do not reply to emails when they see the, hey, give me a reply for email deliverability, is because they feel like when I reply, it's going to just go into the black hole of the internet. No one's ever going to care. He shows you, my team sees all of these, and it helps us tailor the content. Basically, your message will be seen. Well, in that case, if it's going to be seen, I'm way more likely to reply. So we're giving it some actual meaning. And then step 2, drag my emails from and his email address to your priority inbox if you're a Gmail user or use any other platform that filters broadcasts. So again, he's showing people how to do that, move it from the promotions to the primary so that he gets the best real estate position inside of the email inbox. And then he goes into back to the gift I mentioned. And this is where the problem kind of comes up. This is where the massive missed opportunity is about to come in, because he goes back to the gift I mentioned. In my book, Buy Back Your Time, I help entrepreneurs shift from, and then we're going to go to this, but In my book, what's he doing? It's another bit of credibility. So we've got credibility here, $100 million empire, and we've now got he's a published author. They're a published author, right? I help, and then he says, I help entrepreneurs from. And if you click here, I'm sure it goes to Amazon or something like that to go buy the book. So I help them shift from spending time to save money to spending money to save time. He's building up here his macro belief that what they should do is spend money, ideally with him, in order to save them time. And he's building the belief that that's the correct way around to do it because he helps people to go from this before picture, the old way of doing things, the old way of thinking, their old belief system, to this is their new belief system. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it, obviously. Now, what's being done here is really clever, right? It's subtle, and that's what makes it clever. If you haven't read it, I recommend, right? He's saying you should go buy it, but he's then doing a little takeaway with a little bit of wit, saying, obviously, and then a winky face emoji, right? So there we've got that. I'll actually just do a little winky face, not even the emoji, a little winky face thing. But even without reading the book, hiring an executive assistant is something you should be doing right now. This is where it kind of goes a bit wrong. As soon as I read this, I'm like, whoa, what's this bit about an executive assistant? That just comes out completely out of nowhere. Like, you're suddenly talking about executive assistants. I'll show you what he says, and I'll show you how I'd fix it. But even without reading the book, hiring an executive assistant is something you should be doing right now. It's one of the first things I help clients with when they work with me. In fact, this playbook is pulled straight from my program. And it's hands down the fastest way to get some sanity back if you're drowning in your business. Download the playbook. And this is like a resource for you to, again, go and enjoy. And the idea is that it's going to bring you closer to him. Hope it's a good jump off point. Catch you next Monday. So again, reiterating the Monday bit, so you look out for it. But here's the problem. What he hasn't done here, and there's two different ways you could fix this, and you could choose depending on your style. He's bringing up and just really shocking and surprising people with this, with just pouncing on them with this executive assistant thing. Oh, you need an executive assistant? What are you talking about? Instead, what you could do is, before this paragraph, he should really be introducing and selling us on the idea of having an executive assistant, rather than what he's doing here is stating and then excusing. If you basically justify something after you've stated it, you're basically making excuses rather than selling them on it beforehand. So you could switch that around to be like, one of the first things I help clients to do work with me that's going to really free them up is to hire an executive assistant. And then get into it. A simpler way of actually fixing this, what I would actually do, because the email's already fairly long, is I would go, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I recommend it, obviously. Then I would take all of this and I'd put it into the second most read part of any email. The opening line is the first most read. The second is the PS, and there's not one. He's not using the PS real estate here. So we could have Dan, Method Maker, Martell, PS. One of the fastest ways that I help with our clients get the best results when they work with me is by hiring an executive assistant. The very first thing I recommend you do is hire an executive assistant. That can be tricky and overwhelming, so a bit of empathy, selling them on it, overcoming objections. That's why I've put together this EA Executive Assistant Playbook. Click here and get it. That will make the email content shorter. We get an automatic attention reset from it being a PS. It means that this call to action, which is the thing he really wants you to do at this time, is also not lost in the soup. It's not being lost in all of this other stuff, which is all good stuff. Also, by having this in, it's diluting the impact of the other things he wants you to do. So moving all of this into the PS will actually fix, one, he'll get more people replying. Two, he'll get more people doing the dragging it into the primary inbox. And he'll get more people going and checking out his book. And just by all of that's just by putting this in the PS, he'll get more people downloading the Executive Assistant Playbook. That will all simplify it really, really well. Of course, this is just the very first email of a welcome sequence, and we all need a really good welcome sequence, because the job of a welcome sequence like this is to accelerate the level of the depth of the relationship we are having with our reader so that they want to buy from us, or at very least, they'll give us a few more days to keep reading our emails so we can deepen that relationship. So I've got a very special welcome sequence that I use, which is called the Trust Accelerator, which deepens trust and accelerates it really quick and doesn't miss any of these points out. And here is the full tutorial. If you go and click on this thing right here, you'll be able to go and get it. And by the way, I've also put a link right below in the comments and the description of this video, because we're looking for just a handful of new people who've already got 5,000, at least 5,000 email subscribers, and you've already got a proven offer, and you want to make more sales from that subscriber list of your offer. You are sitting on an absolute gold mine. If that's you, and it's only for those types of people, then click out that link below. I'll give you some information about that. But otherwise, go check out this welcome sequence. You'll really enjoy it, and I'll see you later.